Upgrades.
Hey, what's going on there, everybody? This is Samuel Legge here representing Team JVS, here to give you guys another movie review. This is straight from the man himself, Zack Snyder. I'm talking about Rebel Moon. This is written by Shay, Hatten, and Zack in collaboration, but it's also got a huge cast. It's got Charlie Hunnam, Jenna Malone, Skrein, Anthony Hopkins. It's such a huge, Ray Fisher, huge stat cast, right? And the baseline of it is you got the main character, Sofia, playing the role of Kora. Kora is, without saying too much, a very interesting individual that is working along with the community. And the community, all of a sudden, is ambushed by this crazy individual that Ed plays in the Admiral. The Admiral basically is going and looking around for certain resources and trying to go and use this location off planet to get it. And of course, it gets very hairy very quickly. And what Kora needs to do is to try to seek out other people that are willing to rebel against the Admiral's wishes and the things that he wants to conquer. But along the way, you get a lot of understanding that Sofia's character, Kora, has got layers as well, without saying too much. But what did I think about Rebel Moon Part 1, A Child of Fire? So again, this is Part 1. This is PG-13. So the thing about it, as far as the things that I really liked about it, was the world building aspect. I think that they do a really good job with every single character of allowing you to be able to flesh out kind of who they are and where they work with. Two characters I thought were really interesting was Cleopatra Coleman's character, Deborah, and Ray Fisher's character, Darian. Like, they're brother, sister, they're basically leaders in their own right. But at the same time, the way they approach warfare and the way they approach being able to lead is very different. But you can tell there's so much richness in not just their relationship, but the way that they lead, the way they commune with people. Sofia's character, Kora, like, when you look at her background and you start to get the understandings of where she's kind of coming from, what she's really doing, it's just really rich. Even down to Ed Skrein character, the Admiral. He is a very interesting antagonist. Like, it's not as though like he's just a one-note antagonist. I think if you look at it from a surface level, you could try to approach it like that. He's just doing it for the sake of doing it. But no, like, when you really kind of break down what they're really doing with this character, there's a lot there. And I really find that very fascinating. But then you got characters like Jimmy. Jimmy is played by voiced by Anthony Hopkins. And Jimmy is a war robot. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you think of The Mandalorian, like those assassin robots, just think about something like that. But what does that look like afterwards when they're just docile? They're not doing anything, but then they're put in a life or death situation to go back. I think everybody within the context of this movie, at least in the first one, have gone through some things that now they're having to reconcile what that actually means for them. And I think that that's a really interesting point. And the other thing about when at the end of the movie, you're immediately going to want to know what happens next. They do a really good job of world building. Even Corey Stoll's character, I think they do a really good job with him in this movie as well. But the next movie is going to be releasing out in April 2024, so you don't have to wait that long. The other benefit I would say is the cast, man. The cast is freaking amazing. The thing about it, you just don't know where certain characters are going to go. You don't know where the story thread with those characters are going to go. But I've kind of already dissected what that looks like. The other thing is, Zack Snyder is a visionary. So this is a space epic. So we haven't seen Zack approach like gunplay too much. We haven't seen him approach necessarily warfare, nor on the lines of what like Star Wars has done, Battlestar Galactica has done. Like, this is his interpretation of that. So no, visually it's gonna look dope. And so there are certain shots and certain moments, and then even some of the set designs and character designs are so distinct. Like, it's really well done. I mean, I think some of the VFX is actually really good. It was really polished very well in this one. But yeah, let's go on through some of the negatives with this. The other thing about the negatives for this one is there are certain gaps. Even though there's every single character, you can kind of tell that there's things and themes there that's like, oh wow, I want to unwrap this more. And I think if you really want to unwrap it more, I'm pretty sure the next movie is going to have it. But it's also going to be a point where you're looking and you're like, okay, this character isn't as fleshed out as I want it in the scope of this film. If I don't look at any other ones, if I don't go anywhere else. And I think that there are certain gaps within this film. That's not to say that the continuity is bad. It's not to say that the flow of the movie isn't. I think it's just there's certain pieces that you can kind of see that just aren't there. Now, as far as like the actual VFX and the action shots, the action is freaking dope. Like some of the action shots are actually well done. But in the context of like what we've seen Zack do before with something like 300 or even The Watchmen, like some of the scenes with Rorschach, for instance, in The Watchmen, or some of the scenes that you've seen in 300 with Leonidas, it's brutal, right? And so with this is very PG-13. There's not necessarily any broken bones. There's not necessarily any, I mean, there's definitely like headshots and certain stuff, but you can tell that could be a lot more brutal. And it doesn't necessarily go to those links, but that's not to say that the movie eventually won't when the extended version comes out. But in the context of this movie, it's not. The other thing about it is the validity of where the characters are going. Every single character has their own breakdown. And I think it's expanded pretty well. I think it's organically positioned pretty well. But you just don't know necessarily fundamentally why you're moving forward with them. Like Charlie Hunnam's character, for instance, like his character Kai is very interesting. But at a certain point in the second half of the movie, you're kind of like, is he positioned to just be there, or is it more so to a point, to a purpose? And I think that they conclude that with the end of the movie with certain things. Like the end of the movie is actually really interesting how they actually go that route, but it also feels kind of abrupt in the way that it's executed. And I think that that partly has to do with these kind of gaps and these different parallels between where the progression, the story is going with the gaps, along with the threads of each single character. Now, make no mistake, Kora as a character is solid in the way that you're looking towards where they're going to go. Somebody like character Jimmy, I think that they established him very well to be fundamentally like, oh, okay, I want to see where Jimmy's actually going as a character. But there are certain other characters like Michiel Huisman's character, Gunnar, like he's there, he works, he's very organic, but you just don't know, have a feel or flesh for the purpose of the character at times. And I think that happens in small little sprinkles throughout the film. I think that the entertaining action and the allure of the sci-fi drama aspect of it is going to keep you engaged. You're going to be definitely entertained. But I think that you will happen to go and ask certain questions like that. And I think that it doesn't deflate the narrative, but I think it definitely puts it in certain points where you're kind of like seeing where they're trying to position certain things. Are you missing certain things? Would this be different a certain kind of other way? But I do think it's an actually entertaining ride. I'd rest this at a 6.5 to a 7 out of 10. I think I'm resting this at a 7 out of 10. Definitely willing and yearning to watch it again. Definitely excited to see where the next ones go. It's definitely left on a huge cliffhanger. And then not just that, like I'm very excited to see what this extended director's cut is going to be for this one. That's not to say you don't watch this one. I think you definitely should watch it for the progression of where the story is going to go and for what the characters are doing. But I do think that this is going to be insane to watch from an uncut standpoint and possibly a little bit more lengthy to fill in some of those gaps. But I think that the goal for it was for, you know, everybody that wants to see where this expands more, where it's going towards. I think that's where that extended director's cut is actually for. But this is where I landed at 7 out of 10. Let me know what you guys think of Rebel Moon when you go and check it out. It's coming out officially on December the 21st. I almost broke that. Thank you guys so much for watching. Oh, we have a lot more content for Rebel Moon as well. Go and check that out. I'll have it somewhere up here so you can kind of check out some of our interviews and mock-ups of certain things with the film. I'll talk to you guys later. Thank you so much for watching. Peace, people. Violent all the time.
summertime night.